Hello, hello! Welcome back to Password. We're on day 7 of Sally Boy's route. I think we just woke up. I think. I groaned at the sound of the knocking at my door. It felt early, and was early when I checked my phone. Groggily, I got out of bed to answer the knocking. Fingertips brushed the doorknob as it was opened by the person on the other side. Oh! I took a step back and Sal entered, closing the door behind him and shuffling nervously on the spot. I gulped, unsure of how he'd react, as I remember bits and pieces from last night, what Orlando said he'd do once Sal woke.
Orlando told me what happened.
Oh, don't worry about it. We thought it might happen, right? Sal shook his head, putting a hand on my shoulder uneasily.
Not that. He mentioned the freezer, too.
Oh, well, it was just a dream, right? I felt Sal's gaze bore into me, almost searching for something because he looked away again with a sigh. Oh, excuse me.
Dreams. Nightmares. They're both scary. I'm almost willing to be mindful of that now.
Sal awkwardly wrapped his arm around me, quick enough that the best I could do was place my hand on his broad chest as he hugged me.
Thank you, Dave. Yes. See you at breakfast.
He didn't even wait for me to answer before exiting the room, almost as if he was embarrassed. Still, I was relieved that the explanation from last night went over well, although I'd have to check with Orlando at some point to find out what exactly happened. I contemplated going back to bed to sleep, but found myself flopping into it with a sigh, grabbing my phone instead. Oh, yeah, that's interesting. Our eyes met and he looked away. I couldn't quite place his emotion, but it was nice knowing he was still alive. I just wish I knew how to best approach what had happened. Also, specifically, what Orlando had told him. For someone being told that he was going to end up dead, he was still very earnest when it came to approaching me this morning. Day 7. That's the... what's it called, right? The pumpkin?
Dean, give me a hand here. Got it.
I watched as Dean got around the other side of the pumpkin to Tyson and rolled it back.
Go on, Dave. We've got this.
Right. I scrambled under with the snippers, looking for some point that tethered the pumpkin to the ground.
Hurry up, pup. This is heavy.
You doing all right down there, Dave? Yeah, just... Oh, I think I found it. The vine looking more like a rope, coiled and thick. Not to mention tough at the same time. Both to find a good point with the snippers and hold, and then with how much force it was resisting. I scrambled away as soon as the connection was severed, shooting both Dean and Tyson a thumbs up.
All right, it's going to be heavy. Don't lift with your back. Obviously. On 3, you call it. All right, 1, 2, 3.
With combined grunting and heaving, Tyson and Dean carried the pumpkin off with how much they were focused on not dropping it. I guess that meant they had no time to be at each other's throats. I set the snippers down before realizing that Sal was standing around. Oh, Sal, I thought you'd be helping them, and not struggle carrying the pumpkin. Not that they seemed to notice with how much they were trying.
I want to talk to you. Alone.
Oh, well, okay, but should I be worried?
No, I don't think so. But I want details about what happened yesterday. how you knew what to do, what happened down in the vault.
Wait, what?
Orlando was vague this morning. It didn't help that I was alarmed to find him next to me, but he talked me down. But he mentioned you knew what happened. Well, was going to happen because of the vault. And to a lesser extent, what you saw in the vault, I want to know how.
Oh, I rubbed the back of my head, not sure how in-depth I should go with my explanation. After all, it sounded crazy even thinking about what I'd say. There's not much to it really. I messed with the thing downstairs, the vault, and got a vision or something.
A dream.
Something like that, but I remember being awake. Did you want me to explain what I remembered from last night?
Please.
Okay, so, I told Orlando I was worried about you taking, the medication, and he told me how you had, been wandering into his room.
He knew.
He didn't, but he does now, obviously. So then we figured to keep an eye out just in case. You were wandering around last night, and you'd respond to direct commands. It was sort of scary.
Commands? Like what?
Well, I told you to hug Orlando, and you just did. But you wouldn't answer any questions. Questions as such.
That's worrying.
That's not the most worrying thing that happened last night. You said that you were told to repent for something.
I suppose I do, yes. But I can't tell you. I'm sorry.
Sal refused to look at me, despite me shifting my head to try and look at him in the eye. I had a hard enough read on him as it was, and this was just making it harder.
I'll tell you eventually. You deserve to know, especially after last night. Even Orlando. He should know too, probably. The sooner the better, but it's difficult.
Oh, well, okay.
There was something else. He mentioned that you saw me in the freezer.
That's right, yeah. Or at least it looked like it. Not many other places here are so cold, right?
That's odd. Crocodiles can sort of hibernate, at least to a limited extent, in cold conditions.
Oh, really? But it didn't look like you were just sleeping either.
Are you fine talking about this? Are you fine talking about this?
I hadn't really thought about it until Sal brought it up. Why was I okay talking about it with him? Was it just that he was so calm and level-headed? About something that didn't happen, that it's just a speculation? I think so. I honestly hadn't thought about it.
Then, here's why I find it odd. If I was telling you that I wanted to repent, and that led me to sleepwalking into a freezer to die, why not just use a knife?
Wait, what?
A knife to the throat seemed a more efficient way to kill me, honestly. If I was responding to commands, telling me to slit my throat or alike would be safer. Instead of telling me to walk into a freezer and risk that I'll just get cold.
I was floored, staring at Sal with a mix of concern and fear. Who could he be so wait, how? That's what that word. How could he be so clinical, describing a more efficient way of being killed without batting an eye?
Are you all right? You've gone pale.
Sal, how? I don't.
It's hard to kill a crocodile, but there are ways. Trust me, I know.
There was a tense silence that followed, but the immediate want I had was to give him a hug. No sooner than I had stepped forward, I slipped in the soil, falling into Sal's outstretched arms. Sorry, I must have slipped on something.
Did you hurt yourself?
No. But I wonder what got me. Probably a piece of leftover vine or something. I looked over my shoulder to see if I was correct, instead seeing something glint just above the soil. Pulling away from Sal carefully, I knelt? I don't know how that's pronounced. I know the action. I know what's happening. I don't know word, like speaking wise. Down to see what it was, tugging it free with little resistance. What I now held was a round metal disc engraved with a sigil of some description. Oh, hey Sal, this is...
Tauros.
Tauros? Really? Sal put his hand on his head, index finger curled upward to look like horns. Oh, that's cute.
Tauros, like the moo cow.
Okay, but just like the thought of Sally Boy, like, doing that and saying it like that, like, Sal, are you okay? Okay. The moo cow?
Yes.
That's just a bull, right?
Right.
Well, hey, that makes us tied with Orlando, right?
It does. Only 11 more left.
11? How many zodiac signs are there? I'm not gonna count because I don't know. Look, I'm not educated. 11? I thought there were only 12. We know 2 so far. 10 left, right?
Oh, I thought. Never mind then. Should we head inside? I feel bad for letting Tyson and Dean do all that heavy lifting while we chat.
Okay, so even Dave noticed. Okay. I just thought that I had the number wrong. Like, I suppose we should. Yeah. With a nod, Sal began to lead the way out of the greenhouse with me close behind. Huh. Oh, okay.
I believe you can still win, Orlando. Maybe just don't let Roswell hear you claiming all the credit.
Ah, okay, so that's that scene. Sal cradled his head in his hands. My heart sinking for him, as he seemed to be mentally beating himself up for what just happened.
Excuse me.
Suddenly he stood, marching with a purpose towards the kitchen, swinging the door open and shutting it behind himself, potentially more forceful than he intended. Roswell excluded himself past me, rushing upstairs, hopefully to check in on Orlando, resolved that he'd be okay with talking to Roswell. I hurried along after Sal to give him some support. When I entered the kitchen, Sal was pacing back and forth while clutching his head. He looked somewhat shell-shocked, frantic, mumbling to himself at a loss. Sal, are you okay?
Dave, I heard Orlando.
I did a double take, not expecting that to be the first thing to come out of his mouth. Not that it was wrong, but expected all the same that he'd start there. But unexpected, that's what that says. Maybe. Rounding the bench to stand next to him, the pair of us leaned back onto the counter while Sal continued to gather his thoughts.
I didn't know. I didn't realize he liked me in that way.
You didn't? But how? You seemed to give me an impression you knew who liked me. How could you not?
It's different. Harder to notice for various reasons.
I tilt my head at him, wanting him to continue. As I waited in silence, he shot me a look, realizing I was waiting for him to elaborate.
The first of which being fear. I'm undeserving of such affection, Dave.
Before I could go to retort, he continued.
I owe it to myself to love myself more before committing to another. But that's not the main reason.
What is?
I'll tell you later. Mostly I'm just upset with him, I think.
Again, another thing I wasn't expecting blindsided me, but thankfully Sal elaborated this time.
He should have known to He should have known to bring this sort of thing up in private.
Is that what you normally do? I just figured with Dean it was,
Dean's a special case. I expect better from you, at least. Promise me that. No matter who you go with, that you'll tell them in private to give them the space to process it. Also for your protection, in case it goes sour.
Okay. I felt like I wasn't helping Sal so much. But he was talking it out at least.
Thanks for checking up on me, Dave. I love Orlando, but only as a younger brother. He's special to me, and it pains me that I upset him.
Sal began to grumble, and I placed a hand on his arm, wondering if I was being comforting or annoying that the longer I lingered. His face shifted suddenly to one of surprise, looking down at my point of contact before pulling his gaze away.
I should go talk with him.
You think that'd help?
I feel like I need to explain myself. Talking about it is probably something we both need.
He turned to me suddenly, grabbing me quickly to the second hug for the day. Much like the first time, I wasn't expecting it, but the feeling was pleasant. Something about just how big he was made me feel comforted. Not that it was really anything I was familiar with Sal doing for anyone else, or that he'd done it before. There was also the implication that I was feeling guilty for feeling comforted when I was supposed to be providing that for him.
Feel better.
No, wait. I should be asking you that question.
I'll be alright. Really though, thank you for checking up on me. But this isn't the first time this has happened. Now, I need to check in on Orlando. I'll be back.
Sal wandered out of the kitchen into the hall, skipping the dining room, likely to avoid the others. Meanwhile, I wandered back into the dining room after making a fresh pot of coffee. Okay. Interesting. This is weird to me that you have to, go down this list. Okay. We're not on the Tyson route. We're staying here with everyone. Okay. Wait, what? We're doing Sal. So, you have a sister, right, Sal?
That's right. Younger sister.
I'd ask if she was like mine, but I don't think yours wants to brush your mane.
No.
What age do little girls get really into makeup? Don't need fur for that.
Huh, good point. It generally depends on what they watch on TV. I remember we played house a lot, and doctor.
Were you the doctor, Sal? I know you know some first aid at least.
No. That was her favorite. I was either a nurse or an unconscious patient.
What about when playing house?
Freeloading, brother.
Your sister is savage. And you didn't try to stop her?
Why would I? When we played, she was the boss. I loved playing with her like that.
But
I get walked all, but to get walked all over, I don't think I'd let my siblings get away with that. Boundaries and all that. It wasn't disrespectful, was it? I didn't mind letting her take control of things. If she was happy, I was happy.
Okay, that's kind of cute. It was, this was, betray, right? How do I spell that? Betray. Cool, cool. Let's just skip all over that. Like the Arbiter and Peacekeeper parts and the normal routes the same for all of it, right? Right? How far into the recording am I? 20 minutes? Okay. I lost track of time, guys. I don't know. I was having a good time spending time with this big lad.
It's the same as last time, isn't it?
What happened last time?
Nothing. Nothing happened. I had a restless night. But, about opening the vaults.
You know what's on the other side now? No. It's more, it gave me a warning Benson would die. Huh. I'm curious when I, like, do the streams for Password. Yeah, I like being in this room. Like, you have 3 good lads here. This is the masculine room. That's what that is. Like, these are the... Yeah. I'd cuddle up with all 3 of these boys. Like, I don't know if I'd do that in the other room. I'd cuddle up with Haas. But, like, I don't know with Orlando. And definitely, it's a hard pass for Rozzy Boy. But Orlando, like, he's cute. He's a good he's friend zoned in my mind, I guess. I think that's my issue. Is I look at Orlando, and I'm like friend zoned. He's like the Carl of this game, you know. I tried to make eye contact with Sal, but his eyes were darting between Dean and Tyson, seemingly lost in thought, trying to calculate something. I looked between Dean and Tyson once and understood where Sal's mind was at, and honestly, mine was at the same place. I just want to cuddle up with Sal. Oh, this whole thing. Sal was resting in a position where he was cuddling a pillow almost as if it were a teddy bear. He was so big and broad, the size difference looked funny. Still, I'd cuddled enough with Orlando that I knew getting some sleep against Scales wasn't that uncomfortable, and right now I wouldn't mind just being near Sal. In a way, he made me feel safe. Maybe it was how he'd been opening up as of late, or maybe it was how he seemed so collected despite everything else being so crazy. I lay down next to him and tried to get cozy, but the moment I'd found a spot, Sal reached behind him, scooping me up, and lay me on his front. It was an odd experience, but he wasn't all that uncomfortable. Maybe he was cold and I was warm, but he seemed to believe that this was my spot now. Okay. When I woke up, though, I felt my whole body shift, rising and falling gently, and I realized where I was. Sure enough, I was still on Sal's front, his breathing gently, shifting me up and down in a steady rhythm, almost like being rocked to sleep. Looking at him, he seemed to be drooling slightly. Everyone's a drooler. Not like him and... We're in the room with 2 droolers. Was Tyson a drooler? I don't remember. I remember Dean was, for sure. although wore a broad smile on us as he slept. Someone's having a nice dream. No sooner than I had said that, Sal snored loudly, shifting in his sleep enough that I fell off of him, now flat on my back next to him.
Ugh.
Sal rolled over onto his side, looking down at me, seemingly in a daze, not registering immediately who he was looking at. We held each other's gaze for a bit before he seemed to realize, eyes going wide in shock.
Whoa, good morning.
Morning. Everything all right?
Yes, just, it took me a while to remember last night.
We kept our voices low as not to disturb the others, or at least that was my reason for doing so.
I hope that wasn't,
Sal patted his chest, specifically the spot where I had spent the night. Oh, no, it was comfortable enough.
Oh, good.
I looked over to Tyson to see if he was comfortable. If anything, he seemed to be having a bad dream while he clung to a pillow, growling into it with a scrunched up frown. Even his tail was twitching in irritation. As for Dean, he looked much the same way. He was cuddling into a pillow, but his expression was just as painful, almost as if he was trying to sleep. Okay. The good boys, we awake. I turned to follow Dean before feeling Sal's eyes bore into the back of my head.
Dave.
Yeah?
Close the door, please.
Once Dean was gone, I quietly shut the door and looked back to Sal, who was sitting down on the bed. Is everything okay?
Yes, for the most part. What about you?
I'm fine. I stood awkwardly by the door, unsure if there was more he wanted to talk about.
Dave, are you sure? I have concerns about you. Worrying about death.
I sighed, wandering back over to the bed to sit next to Sal, rubbing my eyes. Just, this vacation was supposed to be fun, right? But seeing images of dead people, not fun.
Have you considered just not messing with the vault if that's what's happening?
But what if something happens?
What if, but it's unfair to shoulder that burden by yourself. Life can be rough, and can be unfortunate, and can have unfortunate tragedies. You have the choice to mess with it more if you want, but you alone must have the consequences of what comes after. We can only help where we can afterwards.
Sal, can I ask you some advice?
Advice? About what?
What if there was a reason that I had to keep checking it?
A reason?
Well, if I saw Benson dead, there's that. Chances that one of our friends killed him, right?
Do you really think that?
Huh?
Do you really think that one of your friends would kill an innocent butler? It takes a lot to kill someone.
It doesn't.
To have to make that decision and follow through. Do you, Dave, really think that one of us could have done it?
I felt silly again, conflicted between what Oz had told me and what Sal was suggesting. If Sal was right, then the only one left was Oz, but why would he warn me about people dying if he was the one behind it? I don't know.
That's unfortunate, but understandable. I don't know if I'd be able to, but I suppose it's hard to say what one's capable of, depending on the circumstances.
What do you mean?
If someone was trying to kill you, would you kill to save your life? In self-defense. If one of your friends tried to kill you, would you be able to fight them back?
But who would do that?
Hopefully, no one. But if what you're seeing is the truth, then someone's been lying to us. And I don't like the idea of that.
So, what does that leave us?
Honestly, I don't know. I do not mean this to come out the wrong way, but I'm skeptical about what you saw. Maybe it was your imagination.
But
I know. Even after you caught me sleepwalking, but admit that these occurrences are hard to accept at face value.
all I'm getting from this is that you don't believe me.
I believe you enough that if you're upset, I'll try to make you feel better. But I do not readily accept premonitions of death as truth. Premonitions. I don't know what to say to that.
I don't know what to say to that. He was right. The only way you could possibly believe it was to experience it yourself. Much like Oz, Sel had thought about believing my friends, but claimed to be on my side. Still, I was torn between how I should be feeling. On one hand, I felt reassured that Sal was open about wanting to make me feel better, and that my concern was coming across as real. On the other hand, he didn't believe what I was seeing. He didn't trust that what I had seen was legitimate.
Dave, maybe it's best we head down for breakfast. You could do with some coffee. Wake up a bit.
Sal.
I'm sorry. I'm probably making things worse. Trust me, when I say I care for you, Dave. Enough that I do a great deal to make sure you're okay. It, just might, take a little more for me to completely come around to what you're claiming. That's all.
Okay. I nodded slowly and stood up, with Sal following suit. He had a hand on my shoulder, rubbing gently as we walked to the door. He made me feel a little better, but if anything, it reinforced something that I had assumed might be needed. Sal shut the door behind me, leaving me in my thoughts. Evidence. I needed evidence. Some sort of proof that what was happening was real. Nodding to myself, I headed back to my room to get changed in preparation for breakfast. Okay, I'm gonna end the part here, everyone, so I will see you around.